Hello, welcome to the second episode of Charity Cop Chats. Last week we were joined by Charlie Edinburgh, and this week I'm delighted to be joined by Josh Wright. Josh, how are you, mate?
I'm not too bad, mate. Thank you. I'm probably similar to a lot of people, very frustrated at times. Call it bored, call it what you want. But obviously we're in what we're in. We're having to deal with it. I am staying active, staying fit, staying very, very busy, working on a lot of things and just trying to keep the mind active as well as the body. So I'm making the most of the situation. The weather's helping and we'll get through this, mate.
Definitely. And of course, seeing a lot on your Instagram, you've been getting a lot of personal bests with your fitness and that, which is obviously going to get you in good stead when football returns.
Yeah, I'm working hard, to be fair. I'd probably go as far as saying I feel and look as fit as I ever have been. Obviously, match fitness is a different ball game, and your diet maybe has to adapt and be different. But my diet is eating very lean, very clean at the moment, and I'm training very, very hard morning and day, and even little bits in the evening. Probably overdoing it in a way, but it's an opportunity to try and change my body and try and better myself to come back fitter, leaner, stronger, and more prepared when we restart.
Yep. I'm going to take you back to your youth days, Charlton. When did you join there? Did you always want to become a footballer?
Yeah, from the day I could remember, stand, kick a ball, whatever it might be, I always had my eye on becoming a professional footballer, and I was fortunate enough to have a family that wouldn't say push me, but gave me the opportunity to become a footballer. So set me up and put me in good stead. I had a brother that would push and pull me all the way through. We'd compete with each other in the house, in the garden, and stuff like that. And my family put me into a local club, Redbridge United, at a young age. I was only 4 or 5. I used to have bottles and dummies on the way home from training on the Friday night. But you could obviously, they told me, and obviously I could see as well, there was a talent, I had ability, you're gifted with that, and there was an opportunity. And the rest became history, really. I just continued playing. I then, as years went on, had academy, professional clubs approaching me, Arsenal, West Ham, Spurs, Charlton, to say a few in terms of London and local clubs. So, yeah, opportunity come about. I ended up, it was a choice of mainly Arsenal and West Ham at the time. I had a little spell at West Ham, but I say weirdly because I support West Ham, chose Arsenal. That continued on, and I was very, very highly rated at Arsenal. They wanted me to stay. They were desperate for me to stay, if you like, but Charlton came in with a fantastic opportunity in terms of a longer term that I had a much better opportunity of possibly getting in their first team. Whether that was the right choice or not, I look back now possibly to stay at Arsenal and around the bigger club and keep getting new deals at Arsenal, and with the coaching and players I'd have had around me may have left me in good stead. Who knows? But I was offered a contract at Charlton that was too good to turn down in terms of a 4-year schoolboy type contract, and it went into a scholarship straight into my pros. So it was all in place for me and prepared. And I loved my time at Charlton. Many, many nights and days training there, growing up as a schoolboy, coming off school and going there. And then obviously once I turned full-time, as I say, I pretty much hit a pro contract as soon as I turned 17, because that was already signed, sealed and delivered. And they used to get me in from school, training with the youth team boys, the full-time boys, and at spells in reserve level and first team training. So they really, really had high hopes of me and pushed me. So it was a fantastic club. I loved my time at Charlton. And I represented them all the way through. Youth team, reserves, I think I was 14, 15, played in a reserve game against Coventry away with full-on other first team regulars, who weren't playing for whatever reason at the time. And then I captained them. I then played in their first team, obviously, made my debut come through. I was on the bench in the Premier League, played in the Championship, and had a fantastic amount of years at Charlton.
Yeah, and obviously at the same time you was playing in the England setup, captained under-16 and the under-17s. What's that like? Because obviously what that's essentially saying is that for your age group, you are one of, if not the best for your age at football in your position.
Yeah, it was a very proud moment representing England, especially when I was then given the armband. I remember the tournament, the Nordic tournament, my mum, dad, granddad were out there, and we got told in the meeting that I would captain them. I couldn't wait to tell everyone. It was actually quite emotional because, yes, it's only your age group, but as you just rightly said there, you're representing the best, if you like, in the country, and that's some going. And even at international level at a young age, you're basically, it's January to January how they do it. So instead of how England do it, the UK, it's September to September. So for club level, I'd be one of the older players, if you like, because I'm born in November. But in terms of youth level, I was always one of the younger players and technically playing with boys a year above club level. So that made it even tougher. And that was a very proud moment. It was a case of every time I pulled on the shirt and sang the national anthem and represented England, I was so proud, ecstatic, and days and moments I'll never forget.
Yeah, so obviously while she was at Charlton, you spent time at Barnet, where you got your first goal and Player of the Month, Brentford, and arguably the most successful Gillingham, because you assisted in the playoff final. What was that like for you at such a young age?
All 3 loan spells were incredible learning curves, incredible parts of my career. The Barnet year, I always say, was one of the best years of my career. I loved it from start to finish. I had to go back to come back because of the rulings. But I was at such a young age, 17, I was playing first team football. I'll never, ever forget my league debut against Bradford. It just taught me everything. Men's football was a different ball game to anything I'd ever played, even reserve football at that time. And that was a real good year that left me in good stead for the rest of my career. And then I had the short spell at Brentford start of the season after, that Alan Pardew said, just go and get a few games and you'll be ready. And he called me back after a month. I was unbeaten in the spell that I had there. They went on to get promoted that year, Brentford, which obviously I feel I played a part in. And later on that season, as you say, I ended up back at Gillingham for whatever reason. Stuff went on at Charlton. And it turned out I ended up playing at Wembley, setting up the winning goal in the 91st minute when I was knackered, hot day, big pitch at Wembley, hadn't had a full season. And again, a moment that will live with me forever. To play at Wembley is one thing, to win at Wembley is another thing, to set up another goal is another thing, and family were there to see it. It was on the TV, obviously many friends watching it, and a moment and a day in my life that I will cherish forever. I've got some memorabilia from it, obviously my medal, my shirt, ticket, programme, things like that, and it will stay with me forever, something that I will hopefully be able to show and tell my kids, and another proud moment.
Yeah, and then at the end of the season, you returned to Charlton. Did you think you did enough to get a new contract there?
Well, I basically, Roddy, had a new deal. I had a 3-year deal on the table before all this when Alan Pardew was the manager. And if I wanted to sign that, I would have. And I probably played a dangerous game in terms of I had other options and I had some clubs sniffing around me, some big Premier League clubs as well. And it was to keep the options open, but it was more than that Alan Pardew got the sack. Things changed, different managers come in and out, and Phil Parkinson ended up taking over. And it was partly my fault. I stepped out of line. I did something where I shouldn't have. I thought I was playing in the game, and I never ended up. I got let down right in the final moment. I had family travelling to Sheffield United to watch me in the FA Cup, and all my hopes were built up, and I got let down. I broke down, if I'm honest. I learned from it. I made a mistake. Stepped out of line by doing something I don't like to talk about and going into, and it basically ended my Charlton career. And that was what it was. Whether it was for the good or bad, who knows? Charlton got relegated that year to League One. They had to make cutbacks of money, and I chose the option of staying in the Championship. I was about to sign for QPR. I ended up being Scunthorpe, and had 2 full seasons in the Championship, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And yes, I could have stayed at Charlton and certainly did enough to earn a new deal because I had the new deal, but things went a different way.
Yeah, so obviously, like you just said, you went to Scunthorpe, and one of the games we're going to talk about is Man United in the League Cup. Scored a screamer to put them ahead. What was that like, obviously, getting still young, coming up against the best team in the world?
Yeah, again, listen, to draw them in the Cup, I remember being on the way to a game on a Saturday. They were doing the Cup draw on a Saturday on the radio for whatever reason at that time. With my dad and we were driving to the game, and my missus' family, Holly's family, are big Man United fans. I said, wouldn't it be great if we got Man United? And randomly, we pulled them out the hat and got them, and I couldn't believe it. And obviously, it was a big build-up to it, a good few weeks to look forward to it. And I had them all there, and obviously, they're all London-based, my family, Holly's family, friends, everyone was on TV. And everyone travelled up for the game. We made like a couple of days of it, if you like. They stayed over or stayed around, and to open the scoring with such a great goal as well was another moment that I just went off celebrating hard, and the feelings that go through you can't explain unless you actually you're in it. And so listen, we got beat on the night. It finished 5-2. Actually set up our second goal. Late Dorse, one of my good friends, Martin Wolford. And no, listen, it was, again, I've got the goal on DVD. I've got photos of it. I've got moments. I've got the shirt I played in. And all things like that. And to say that you scored against Man United and a strong Man United team is something that, again, I'd never have taken away from me. Will always be able to have. And the fact it was such a good goal as well made it even more special. And again, a moment that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, and ultimately after 2 years, a new club, Millwall. How did that move come about? Because initially it was a short-term deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you what it was. I, again, had option to stay at Scunthorpe, but I felt I'd done my time at Scunthorpe, living away from home. Uh, it was tough. It taught me a lot. It was a fantastic learning curve and things like that. And I really, really enjoyed my time living away. I went from a boy to a man within those 2 years. And I was 19 when I went, come back when I was 21. So I could have stayed at Scunthorpe, but I was just ready for a new challenge, ready to come back home. And again, there was options. There was one or two bits and bobs going on. And then I was about to sign for Peterborough in the summer. And I went away with them to Portugal. Darren Ferguson, the manager at the time, Mark Robson, who I had at Charlton, worked with for many years growing up. And everything was in place. And then I actually broke my metatarsal, stress fracture, if you like, from working hard in the summer and away with them. And it just sort of stopped that contract, if you like, happening. And at first we didn't know that I'd done it and I wasn't running right. I couldn't sprint and I think they were a bit weary. So it turned out I came into a bit of a predicament in my career where I wasn't sure what was going to happen. It was the only time really I was in a bit of the situation of, hang on, who am I going to sign for here? What am I doing? I could have go to sign for some League One clubs or one or two other clubs up north. And I held out an opportunity arose at Millwall. And Kenny Jackett, who knew my dad well, had done some dealings with my dad before, asked me to come in. And I hit the ground running straight away. I felt good. I felt strong. And I was what they wanted at the time. And yes, it was a short-term deal to start with, but I did so well in that little short spell, even before the short-term deal was up. They offered me a lovely contract at the time. I say lovely because it was a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
And a very good contract, which is not what it's all about, but obviously you have to have security as a player and as a family. And yeah, the 3 years that I had there, it started off the first season and a half. So a year and a half of it was fantastic. I loved playing for Millwall, loved playing under Kenny Jackett, but things started to change when Kenny left. Kenny got a very good move to Wolves. The club went down a different route by bringing in Steve Lomas. He wanted to go a different style of play. Didn't really suit me, as well as the club.
Yeah.
Their style and their way of doing things didn't really suit me, but it did at the time with Kenny Jackett because he changed his route and how he went about things for his last spell, his last part. But so I had to make some adaptations and some change. I wasn't playing, and I had to have one or two little loan spells from Millwall, as I say, as we'll go on to, I'm sure, to Leyton Orient. But I had some fantastic times at Millwall. It's a top football club with top fans. As much as I've had some run-ins since with them, and even when I was there, they're passionate. They're similar to me. They have the same outlook on me. I've got friends and some people I'm very close with who are Millwall fans, and I loved my time there. I scored a fantastic goal at Burnley, probably the best goal I've ever scored and possibly will ever score, the volley. And it was a real good time at spells at Millwall, and I'm proud to say that I played for Millwall.
Yeah, and obviously that Burnley goal ended up winning Goal of the Year, so that's history.
Exactly.
As you mentioned, you joined Orient initially on a loan, but then that became permanently. Did you feel your time was up at Millwall? And that's what made you want to move there?
Yeah, I'd become too stout at Millwall. I hadn't played for a long period. Just the way they were going, even when Ian Holloway came in. Ian Holloway tried signing me at Blackpool, and the year they got promoted to the Premier League, would you believe it? So I had a chance. In the end, I would have possibly played in the Premier League when I signed for Scunthorpe. And I thought, here we go again. But I was just off the pace. I hadn't played in so long, and I became a bit static. And even Ollie said to me, you need to get games, you need to play. You're not going to be able to play here just as yet. Get out and play. And I just felt, you know what? With the stop-start period that I had, it was all about going to get games. And Leyton Orient opportunity come up. It was on my doorstep. It was a club close to my heart, a club that I followed, a real family club. And I didn't think twice about it. So I went on loan, as you say, initially, and it turned to permanent. But moving on to that, it was just a shame that who owned it, the club at the time.
Yeah.
The Italians, without going into it too much, it was a very toxic place, very difficult place to enjoy your football and play your football. So it restricted me like it did other people, and we should have done a lot better with that squad that we had. And I felt I gave it everything at Orient at that spell. I actually won one of the Player of the Years and played a big part in nearly keeping us up with scoring 2 or 3 goals towards the end of the season, some crucial goals. And I still enjoyed it. I still loved it. We'll go on to it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But whenever I've been there, whenever I've played there, watched, or as a player, I love being at Orient. And it was just a shame the spell that I caught in at that time.
Yeah, and obviously the second spell much better, and we'll come on to that later. And then in August 2015, you joined Gillingham with Justin Edinburgh. What was that like, and what made you want to join there?
Yeah, so again, when I left Orient that year, it was just I just found myself on a path that was up and down, and it was like, hang on, where you going, what you're going to do, and I had an opportunity to sign for Chicago Fire in the MLS, and I had debated to
That's all right.
to sign to go abroad once or twice, and I thought, this is it, this could be the time, and everything was agreed in terms of flying out there. I was flying out there on the Monday, and then a call came in on the Saturday about an opportunity to go into Gillingham, and that was from David Kerslake, Justin's assistant, who's one of the best coaches I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
Someone I've known, family I've known for years. And I thought, hang on, this could be too good to turn down. A club that I've had such a good spell at before, a local club under Justin and Kurz, who I hadn't worked with Justin at the time, but I knew of, and I thought, it's going to be too good to turn down. And I ended up signing for Gillingham, and honestly, without just saying it, the 2 seasons as well, but especially the first 18 months under Justin and Kurz, it was a spell that I'll never forget. We had a great group in terms of players. It was youth, it was young, they had a little bit of experience around it, and I absolutely loved that time at Gillingham. The banter in the dressing room, the drive, the determination to win games in training, everything about it was what you need in a group of players, a squad. That all stemmed and came from Justin and Kurz themselves, and I absolutely loved playing under Justin as a manager. He was the best manager I've ever played under for all sorts of reasons. Hence why I was going to sign for him a couple of times again since. And it was a great period. It haunts me that we didn't get promoted. We should have at least made the playoffs. We was up there all year. How we didn't, like, top 2 at one point, but how we didn't even make the playoffs, I can't believe it. There's reasons to it. We should have been backed more in the January window. We needed a little bit more to get us over the line with having a smallish squad, but that's a shame. But that won't take anything away from the spell I had there, because I loved it. And then obviously the second season, change of managers, but I played a different role, and I went on to score a lot of goals. 14 goals I got that season. Obviously a few under Justin and Kurz, and then the rest under what was AD Pennock at the time, and I just had the reins taken off of me, and I scored obviously a few penalties, 4 penalties, 3 in one game, one against Southend as well, and 10 others from open play or from other set plays, and best goal scoring season I've had, and so it has to stem up there for being one of the best seasons I've had.
Yeah, and obviously under Justin, you was named captain as well. When I was speaking to Charlie, he felt that his dad was let go prematurely. Do you think that was the case as well?
Oh, 100%. He did a hell of a job the year before. And as I say, probably could have had a bit more backing in the January window, because you always need it. You always need to go again up there. And we suffered Dack. He got injured, Bradley Dack. And he never quite recovered to his where he was at, if you like, when he stopped, before he got injured. So we needed a bit more. And then to start the second season, we had a very good squad. Justin made some good signings, and we probably wasn't achieving as a group of players, not so much Justin, but we probably wasn't achieving a group of players as much as we should be, but it needs time to gel, and there was a lot of different type of players and different characters within the dressing room, and no way should Justin and Kurz have been sacked when they were. That was a shame, and I still think we'd have turned it around and been right up there come the end, but that happens in football. Owners and people make decisions, and that's what happened, and I don't agree with it. Not many people did agree with it, but we had to get on with it.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, under AD Pinnock, you scored a 9-minute hat-trick of penalties. First time a hat-trick of penalties has been scored since 1978. What was that like, that game?
It was just all a whirlwind. It was one that I can never explain. The question I've been asked so many times, but I don't know how to answer it. It all just feels like a blur. It still does now. I'm amazed it happened. I don't think it will ever, certainly won't ever happen to me again. I don't think. It's quite unique. I heard R9 Ronaldo was the only other player to do it, but it might have been, as you say, one other, or from years and years ago. But when I see players on 2 penalties now that have scored, I'm thinking, oh, please don't get another third one. And it's very unique that you get 3 penalties in one game. If you do, to score all 3 is something else. And I even won the 3rd penalty. I debated giving the 3rd penalty away because I'd already scored 2, and I'm thinking we were 2-0 down here, and to win the game and score 2 pens would have been something, but to score all 3, very nerve-wracking. And I was thinking, do I, don't I? But I did. I couldn't turn it down. And it was something that honestly, so proud, and something that I still think about now. I've got the ball wall signed, and honestly, it's something that I'll have with me like a few other things forever.
Yeah.
It was just crazy spell.
And obviously, to end that season, you got 3 different Player of the Year awards. Why did you end up leaving Gillingham?
Few reasons. I feel I was let down a little bit for how much I did for them. Both seasons before. I even played for them for nothing for a spell when I first went to Gillingham for a little while, and not many players would do that. But then I felt I got pushed out a little bit. A few clubs come sniffing. I think they see an opportunity to get some money for me. But I think they felt I was a big character along with 2 or 3 others, and they wanted to go down a different route, whether that was the owner or the manager, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was getting edged out a little bit for all different reasons. And at the same time, I admit, I did, when Charlton come calling, it was a boyhood club where I came through, a club that meant so much to me, and I should have done more at and spent more time at. And I'm thinking, if I've got an opportunity to go back there, I'm going to try and take it. So not just money-wise, I mean in terms of the size of the club and the possibility of getting a promotion to the Championship again and things like that. So I did try to push the move through as well, but a big part of that was because I felt I was getting pushed out. So it could have been all different reasons for that. So I would have loved to have stayed at Gillingham, but I felt it got a little bit messy with the manager and staff at the time.
Yeah.
Nothing was really ever admitted, but I could sense it. Other people could sense it, whether that was being a big character or they felt they wanted to go down a different route for different reasons. I don't know, but it was what it was. I didn't cause ag. I went by it in a good way. I ended up getting out of my contract. I didn't ask them for any money. In fact, I gave up money because I said I'd walk away from it in the end. But it just all got a bit messy, and it is what it is. Who knows whether it was the right decision, but there was all sorts of reasons to it.
Yeah. Would you have liked to have stayed there longer if you could?
In the end, probably, definitely. I would have. Yeah, I probably would have if I got looked after a little bit more and warranted what I'd done and what I felt I'd given the club and what I should have deserved. So, yeah, probably.
Yeah. So
for the fans, 100%.
Yeah. And
fans, really superb.
Yeah. And at that time, like you said, Charlton were calling. I think Millwall were as well. And there's a lot of rumours of you joining us, but we didn't believe it because you was obviously a big player for the league then. And then I think it was September you ended up joining, which was a shock. How did that move come about?
Yeah, so Southend were one of the clubs sniffing. There was, as I say, Nottingham Forest inquired, 1 or 2 others. So it was few big things going on in terms of leagues and clubs. But Phil Brown showed an interest quite early doors. Southend being an Essex club, I knew a few players. I knew it was such a great squad and opportunities. It was always one that I entertained and kept open. But it just had to be a situation of there would be no fee. They wouldn't be able to pay for me, so I had to get out of my contract. So that was that. And then these things take time with budgets, clubs working out budgets and stuff like that. So I met Phil at the training ground when I got out of my contract. And it just progressed from there, really. So the time I got out of my deal, things progressed. And ended up, as you say, signing for Southend. And the Southend one bugs me because, I played a different role, but I agreed that when I was signing, I knew I was going to play a different role to what I'd used to have been playing. But I caught Phil at the end of his time at Southend, if you like. It all got a little bit messy and he became a little bit stale, and a few players as well. And it was just a shame I wasn't there earlier because I think it was a great squad. It's a great club. And I could have done so much more and we could have done so much more if it was an earlier situation. But that was that. And I signed there. It came to a premature end because Phil got sacked. I tore my hamstring just before it. And I didn't really get back fit at all. I tried to get back fit. I wasn't feeling great. But in my contract and with financial side of things at the club, they needed to be seen to be making cutbacks, saving money. I was on a good contract and it was only going to get better if I played 2 more games. I think the owner put that to Chris Powell at the time, who had a great relationship before he came. And I still respect him now, but they see an opportunity to free some money up. That's why I didn't play the back end of the season. And I had a hell of a lot more to give Southend if I played in my proper position, my out-and-out position.
Yeah.
It's a shame how it ended. It was a short spell, but again, a spell that I don't regret. And I loved the time that I played there. It was a great group of players and great fan base and a great club. And I just wish it could have been longer.
Yeah, and like you said, it was Phil Brown who brought you in. What was he like? Because obviously, like you said, you was only there for a brief time. some ex-players have said that he's one of the best, but others have said they're not his cup of tea. What was he like for you personally?
I loved him. It was only a short time, but I loved the way he worked. I loved his methods. I loved his drive and his focus for the game. And I do see, I think if he likes you, then you'll love him. If he doesn't like many people, many managers, then you might not like him. He's one of them. But for me, I can't speak highly enough of him. He's one of the better ones that I've worked with. I just wish he could have been longer.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, there was a lot of characters at the club. Anton Ferdinand, Michael Timlin, Wordsworth, Noel Ranger. Where do you think it all went wrong? Because obviously now we're seeing it was confirmed today that we're basically going to League Two. I think that season's been the root of all our problems. Where do you think it all went wrong?
I just think it came to a bit of a stale scenario. Players had been there a long time. There were some big characters. Some other players or new players didn't buy into that. Budget-wise, that sort of stuff, money related. I think they spent a lot of money. They need to start freeing it up. And I just think it'd been a period of where they came so close to getting up and getting promoted that because that didn't happen, enough was enough in the end. It needed a new route, a new way to go. And as I say, it was just became a stale situation and it just needed a freshen up. But I just think they should have done it at the right time in terms of getting promoted. They should have been, but they just fell short for whatever reason. Yeah, and I just think now it would probably be a good thing for the club to regroup, to go down, to regroup, freshen up, to come back up.
Yeah, and obviously, like you said, you wasn't really given a chance under Chris Powell. Do you, not bitter about it, but do you think you had something to prove?
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%, because I was injured when he came in. I wasn't fully fit when I started playing. The contract thing then started to happen. And no one see the real me. He never gave me a go. It frustrates me. It annoys me. It was a bit of a liberty what went on. But it is what it is. That happens in life. That happens in football. And you have to move on.
Yeah, because obviously we as fans, we weren't really told what was happening. So I know you got quite a bit of abuse from our fans, which obviously isn't right. And then after Southend, you moved on to Bradford. Started really well. You was made captain. What did you think of your time there? Because obviously you had quite a good bit and quite a bad time there.
Yeah, listen, the club itself is a fantastic football club. The fan base is incredible, but the club is in a bad place. It's toxic. The fans don't like the owner. One of the owners has now gone. The other's still there. It's not running the right way. It was always going to prove difficult. I was given the armband from London, so I was always going to be the scapegoat. The manager who signed me or gave me the armband as well got sacked so soon. So did other people related to the signing. A new manager came in. I was playing in his first game. We were 2-0 up. I came off, just tweaked my hamstring again from that year before. The only injuries I've ever had, Southend won that one. We ended up losing that game 3-2. I came back in and we just didn't really see eye to eye, me and the manager. He wasn't a fan of mine. I wasn't a fan of his. It became bullying a bit in the end. People don't know what I dealt with at the club at the time. I wasn't allowed to train with a team. I was running on my own. I was in the gym on my own. I was left to rot, if you like. And it became very, very difficult. Fans never knew that. So fans started to get on my back and it was only going one way, even though when Gary Bowyer came in, the new manager again after Hopkin left, he really gave me a chance. He brought me back into the fold and I did well in the games that he gave me, especially from being where I was all season, not playing and training. And I did very well, but the time had come where it had already got too much with me and the fans and other things. I was ready to come home. Yeah. It became a bit of a shame the way it was, but difficult to take. But at the same time, I don't regret it. I played for a very, very big club. I captained a very big club. It taught me a lot. It was the toughest year of my life, not just football, my life. Yeah. I'm a big, stronger man from it. And I have to move. I moved on. The rest is history. And I had to wave goodbye. The time came short, but I ended up signing for what was going to be Justin again. My dream to sign for Justin again, but also back at a club that is so close to my heart and I love, and I've loved every minute since being back, other than what happened with the tragedy. And
like you said, obviously Justin came calling. Leyton Orient, first season back in the Football League. Was that really what made you want to join, the combination of obviously the club and the manager?
Yeah, Justin was one thing. I nearly signed for him at Northampton. The deal was on the table and he sadly got sacked. That was one thing, but also the fact of rejoining, being back home, training so close to home, and a club that's so close to my heart, a club that I left before with unfinished business. I had more to give and more to do. So it was everything. It was the icing on the cake. It was the fact it was Leyton Orient with Justin in charge. It was just a dream come true. And that dream was taken away from me in terms of Justin And
Yeah.
the fact I was at Leyton Orient meant so much as well to me, so I just couldn't wait to get the deal done.
Yeah, so obviously, like you mentioned, tragically, Justin lost his life at the start of June. Where was you when you found out? Like, do you still remember that day and what was going through your head? Because obviously, words can't describe something like that happening.
I do remember it was a horrible time. I was actually in Leeds. I'd been down south. I was driving to Leeds to collect some bits from the house and take my wife to have her hair done where she was having it done at that time in Manchester. And as I pulled out of my house, we left very early that morning, got some bits out of the house, did what I had to do there, left Leeds to drive over to Manchester. And Charlie, his boy, rung me. It was horrible. Very, very horrible. Hysterical crying. He could just about get his words out, and he told me his dad at the time, what we thought had a heart attack. And I couldn't believe it. I was signing that day when I came back, and I tried to calm him down and console him, but obviously that was very, very difficult. He was upset. He'd left work, so I was just trying to speak with him and see what was going on through the day. But I spent the day in Manchester whilst my wife was having her hair done, and I was pacing the road, walking up and down, driving up and down to try and get some news. And obviously there was no real news to report then. It lasted 4 or 5 days before tragically passed. And it was a horrible moment. I was in shock. I was even lost breath. I just didn't know where to look or where to turn. I was on my own, if you like, at that time. Yeah, it was a horrible moment and something I don't like to think about, but something I'll never get out of my head.
Yeah, and obviously on August 3rd, football returned, Leyton Orient v Cheltenham. I spoke to Charlie about it as well, and he said like it's days like them he has to live for. You ultimately scored the winner. What was that like that day, if you can describe that?
Again, similar to the penalties, but even more so in terms of I half forget that moment from when the ball left my foot, hit the net, and I turned celebrating, because it was like you can't write them moments.
Yeah,
that's
like a fairy tale.
Like a film, like a book. If you read or watch that, that's like, oh, come on, it's a film. As if it's like one of their moments. And I hit the net, and honestly, I think for the time I run from the goal to slide on my knees to look up at Charlie and his family and the sky for Justin, I think I lost breath for 10, 15 seconds where I was just screaming and just so amazed. I just couldn't believe it. And a moment that I never, ever, ever will be able to explain the feelings that went through my body at that time. But such an amazing, surreal moment. It was so emotional, yet so happy as well. Just every emotion you can think of run through my body. And if you could write that day, you wouldn't be able to write any better. A 0-0, hot day, emotions running high, people having tears, people smiling because back in the Football League, but everything going through you. And to finish like that, score such a late winner, was honestly absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and obviously the photos and videos will live with you forever, I'm sure. I'm going to talk about the J3 Foundation. You're a trustee. How did that come about?
Yeah, listen, obviously, after what happened, with negatives in life, you have to try and find positives, and that's exactly what Charlie and his family have done. Yeah, and deserve enormous credit to do this so soon after everything that happened. When you can imagine everyone's grieving, but you can imagine what they're going through and feeling, and more so a big credit to Charlie, because what he's done and how brave and mature he's been since is, I don't think there's many people in the world that would ever be able to have behaved and done what he's done since. So, yeah, he obviously wanted to set up this foundation to raise money, raise awareness for everything associated with it, which I'm sure he's been through with you. That's obviously stated there. CPR and getting all the equipment that's needed in sports facilities. So what he's done that, but with that he needed some help. So he's obviously thought of some family members, some close friends, some people related to Justin in terms of the football side of things. And he approached so many of us, 8 to 10 of us. And obviously we, of course, jumped at the opportunity to help out, to be a trustee. And it's a very proud moment and a nice moment to be when we were asked to be trustees, certainly for me. And of course, I snapped at the chance to say yes. And I've given everything I can help-wise ever since. Obviously, we're now restricted a little bit with this lockdown, but we still chat and have these calls now and again. But it's something that we want to try and continue to make bigger, to raise money, not like to raise awareness with obviously what happened in the memory of Justin, but also to raise awareness in terms of saving as many lives as we can moving forward, so this doesn't have to happen to as many people in the future, and as many families have to feel the way they've felt ever since.
Yeah. And finally, to end, obviously, football was cut short 2 months ago. Have you been told anything about when you'll be returning to training, games, anything like that?
Not really. Even now, just whilst we've been sitting here, or just before the breaking news in terms of what you just said there, it looks like we're possibly going down, that 100% relegations are going to happen and promotions, but are they going to play the games, or are they going to stop? League Two's done, because the vote, I think they need a 51% vote. So the voting's been done for League Two. I think we're done.
Yeah.
No, we're finished. So we aren't going to play again this season. League One, I don't know. I still think that will get cancelled as well with the 51% vote. They're saying I think enough teams will vote to end it, and how it is. So it's unlucky for some teams. It's lucky for other teams. But health and safety is the main thing.
Yeah.
We will return for next season. It's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
The Premier League clubs / Championship clubs have got the money to be able to play behind closed doors, but still to be able to play their players, pay for the testing. We at our level aren't going to be able to have that.
Yeah.
So the health and safety is the main priority. When is it safe to do so? Who knows? We'll have to wait on government and other guidelines. In terms of when next season starts, it's going to base on that. So if next season starts September, October, we probably won't return till mid-July, August time, because we've been furloughed at the moment, so we can't work.
Yeah.
The government are doing a fantastic thing in helping pay and share it with the clubs. So in terms of when next season starts, I don't know. I don't think that will be any earlier than September. So that means we probably won't return any earlier than mid-July, August time. I'd love to go back now. I'm one that I feel would be safe to go back now, but at the same time, I don't have kids. I don't live around the elderly, so I'm quite fortunate in that way. I've just got a wife and 2 dogs here. But obviously everyone would feel differently about that. Who knows what will happen, mate? Hopefully sooner rather than later. It's a difficult time, but we have to stay safe. We have to stay healthy. We will return one day. It's going to be a difficult period for football with behind closed doors and no fans for a spell. But we'll get there in the end. We've got to bear with it. And hopefully it's going to be sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I appreciate you taking your time out to speak to me today. And hopefully you'll be able to make the rearranged charity match again, because obviously you wasn't in the country for the original match.
Definitely. That's a slight positive, if you like, from all. I will now be able to be there. Hopefully I can play a big part in it. Fantastic thing what you've done. A massive credit for doing that, mate. I really do think it's a great thing, especially for someone of your age. So as we were doing before, all chipping in and helping one way or another, we will do that again, I'm sure. And please God, if and when, which I'm sure it will be sooner rather than later, we can get the game done. It will be a massive success. And everyone's a winner out of it. And again, it raises awareness, raises money. And it'll be a great day for everyone. And we really look forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, obviously all about raising awareness. So that brings an end to our Josh Wright interview. Josh, thanks for coming, mate.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Cheers. And we'll see you next week for another special guest. See ya.